I've been filming my training sessions for maybe 3 or 4 years now, mainly by myself. And over these last few years, I've learned so much about editing, videography, and the creative process in general, where I feel like it's a good time now to finally share some of the things I've learned so you guys can make your own video and execute your own vision. I think a lot of people hold back on making videos because they don't have the right gear, they don't have the lighting, high quality cameras. In this video, I'm just going to give you guys an insight and some tips into how to make the best videos, whether you have all the gear, gimbals, the lighting, all these different lenses, which you don't need or nothing. With that being said, obviously the quality is going to be better with the more expensive camera, but you can create a story with way less. There are 3 main parts when it comes to making videos: planning, shooting, and editing. I'm going to go over all 3 and just give you guys some insight and tips into what I personally do. I'll be completely honest with you guys. For the longest time, I didn't believe in planning videos. And I still don't plan every video I do, especially the training ones. They're a little bit harder to plan because you're just training. You should be focused on the training. If you're actually dedicated to your sport, what I would say is you don't need to plan everything, but think ahead. When you're shooting something at the field, think about how you're going to use that clip later on when you're editing. Is it going to be used as a transition, as an establishing shot? The more you think ahead or even plan before you shoot, the easier it's going to be when you're at the field shooting, and then also later on when you're editing. Not everything's just going to be in your head with a mental timeline. I used to always do that. I used to just think about every shot that I wanted to do, but writing it down or even sketching it made it so much easier to mentally know what I wanted to shoot and then where these were going to go in relation to each other on the timeline. I think I've only scripted a few videos that I've made, mainly the intro sequences to training videos. Not everything has to be written down. Planning also considers things like location, where you're going to train. When you're looking to make cinematic videos, the location is honestly probably the biggest and most important thing, because the shots that you're going to be taking at the field are only going to include you a tiny bit. You're only going to be a small portion of that frame. The majority of what the viewer is seeing is going to be the background. The environment, the location that you choose has the ability to complement and elevate the image that you're putting out there. Obviously, there's no perfect location. You can make this work with most locations, and it's at the end of the day, it's all about your eye and how you see the location personally. So it becomes a lot easier if you've been to this place before and have an idea of how everything surrounding it looks. Even if you go on Google Maps before, if you haven't been there, this is really in-depth, but you can figure this out also as you get to the field. But if you really want to plan your shots out, you need to have an idea of what the surrounding looks like. Where you're going to set up your camera, is it going to be facing up, down? Is it going to be capturing the whole field, only half the field? These different things are important. And I think the background is one of the most interesting aspects of the videos, especially the ones I've made. The location can do so much and change the video immensely. It's a little bit difficult to say whether the first step is necessary when it comes to training videos, because you're not trying to optimize the video all the time. If you are, that step is crucial. If not, maybe just focus on location, think about that so you can optimize that. That doesn't require much thinking. More unconscious things you need to be aware of. Bringing accessories to the field. These type of things are important for when it comes to the next 2 steps. The second step is shooting. And I'm going to share with you guys how you can do this with all the gear in the world and no gear, just a phone. It's nice to have all the gear in the world, the expensive cameras, the lighting, the stabilizers, all these different things they're important once you get to a higher level, but it's not a necessity to create a good video. If you have a story to tell, you can make a good video with just an iPhone. You've seen people do it before. I think people like to make excuses and ask which camera do you use just because they think that's the only way they can make a good video. It makes better videos, but you can still make good videos without having an expensive camera. Don't stop yourself from making videos just because you don't have an expensive camera. Shooting a good video is way more than just placing the camera on the tripod. For the longest time, that's what I did, and that's what the majority of people do, is just go to the field, put the camera on the tripod, and that's because they're not trying to get more out of the video. The majority of the time that you're at the field, the camera will be on the tripod, but it's about how you set it up. Honestly, you don't even need a tripod. There's no excuses to be made. I'm going to show you guys right now that I'm going to bring my phone to the field and no tripod and show you guys that you can do it.
Fix him a little more salad. Put some strunzi on.
Like I said earlier, if you want to create the best video possible, you're going to have a vision of what you want to make even before it's happened. And here are some main points and pointers I've learned over the years that you guys should take into consideration. The first one is angles. If there's one thing you guys remember from this video, I just want you to remember that one word, angles. When I say angles, I mean mentally and physically. You need to see things differently and also position your camera differently. For example, if you have a specific shot in mind at the field, I want you to think about how can I capture this 10 other ways, 10 different angles. And with those 10 different angles, you don't have to use every single one. You could use all 10, you could use none of them. I just want you to practice to see things differently from different perspectives, and you'll learn about your own taste and what you see. Over time, you'll develop a style and you'll understand which angles work better for you. And the only way to figure that out is by testing out different angles. An effective way to do this, and what I usually do, is after every set or a drill, let's say you have 10 balls and you're shooting, after you shoot those 10 balls, pick your camera up and move it to a different location, even if that's 5 feet to the right, 10 feet towards the goal. There are so many different ways you can position the camera, and it doesn't require that much work. Over time, you'll realize that different angles evoke different emotions, whether that's facing the camera upward, facing it downward, close-ups to focus on detail, or wider shots that allow the viewer to understand the setting. You can set the scene in 2 different ways, with dynamic shots or static shots. The next topic I want to highlight is framing. And in most filmmaking classes and probably educational TikToks, whatever you consume nowadays, you'll see a lot of these things about golden ratio, symmetry, rule of thirds, which are all very important, but I don't think you necessarily need to be aware of these. I never knew about these. It's something that you just develop over time. You're going to understand what looks good. I guess not everyone has the eye for it. And I say this because I only took one filmmaking class my whole life, sophomore year of high school. We learned about so many different things, where to place a subject, what different angles mean in reference to a story, and so much more. But I don't honestly remember anything that I learned in that class. Everything that I do now is based off of instinct and emotion. It's just what I see. You don't need to memorize all these different things. Stop making it so complicated for yourself. Just get out there and get reps in. The more you shoot, the more you train your eye to see the world differently, the more naturally these rules of filmmaking will come to you. So don't worry about learning them. You can still learn them, but it's up to you. Last is the camera settings. And up until a few months ago, I honestly didn't know much about these. I know what they were and I had an idea of what they did, but I didn't know how to utilize them to my advantage. I do still believe that shot choice and angles are more important than the settings you use, but the settings you do use will complement them. And if you have the best settings, obviously it's going to make a better video. So I want to go through some of the settings that I've learned about over the last few months, especially in Japan. There are 3 main settings when it comes to cameras. If you're new to cameras, you probably don't understand these very well, but if you know cameras already, these don't matter to you. We have aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. They're a little bit confusing at first if they're new to you. It took me a while I never really put the effort into learning them, but I would recommend learning about them, especially if you're taking filmmaking seriously, like I have been recently. I just started learning about them, to be honest, like maybe this year. I just messed with them for the longest time, not knowing what they did, but I understand them a lot better now. There's no particular order to them, but the first one I'm going to go over is aperture, which is the depth of field, the blurry look you're going to get when shooting. The lower the number that you use, not every lens will go super low to like 1.8. Those are the more expensive ones. The cheaper lenses probably stop around 4. It depends on which lens you have, just keep that in mind. But the lower the number, like 1.8, the more blurry the background will be. Also depends how far away you are from the camera. I'm shooting, I think right now it's at 1.8, but I'm so far from the camera that there's still a lot more in focus. I think. I can't tell from here. I'd recommend shooting at lower apertures like 1.8 when you're trying to focus more on one piece. But if you're trying to shoot a landscape or any wider shots, bring your aperture up so you can get more in focus. ISO, just keep in mind the lower that your ISO is, the less light I think your camera is. Let me double check this. The lower your ISO is, the less sensitive your camera sensor is to light. So this is not a huge detail, but I would recommend if you're not shooting at night to keep your ISO under around 800. Just don't bring it up too high because it'll lead to a lot of noise in your shots, especially if you don't have the highest quality camera. This very much depends on which camera you have. A lot of these settings that I'm going through, the camera and lens are very important, so keep that in mind and do the research on the specific camera you have. Lastly, we have shutter speed, which controls motion blur. What I learned recently is for most cases, you should just be keeping your shutter speed as a double your frame rate. If you're at 24 frames, go to 48, 50, 30 frames, 60 frames, 120 shutter speed. One over 120. If you do want more motion blur, you can bring your shutter speed down to like 1/4, 1/16. Around there, it creates a super cool effect. But sometimes you need certain filters, like an ND filter, to balance it out. Ideally, keep it at 2 times the frame rate. Those are the 3 main settings, but the last, it's optional, but most important setting when it comes to making cinematic videos is shooting in log. This is honestly what changed everything for me. I was just shooting regular footage, but when I switched to log, it allows for so much more flexibility and color grading. It may take more steps to shoot in log, but if you're looking for a cinematic look, definitely consider shooting in log. S-Log3 is what I shoot in. I think most people shoot in S-Log3. Look into a video on that. I'm not going to fully go into detail on how to do it, but it's honestly not that hard. Turn the setting on and put a conversion LUT in when you're editing the video, and then color grade from there. But make sure you're properly exposing your shots. The last thing I'm going to say about shooting is always shoot more than you need. You can never have enough footage. You don't have to use all of it. In the past, I would just shoot what I needed and used everything. Now it's kind of hard to transition from that. I'm thinking I have to use every clip, but I've just been shooting so much that, let's say I shoot 60 different clips in a video, I can use 10 of those. I have way more to choose from. Nobody's forcing you to use every clip. Just remember that. I have to remind myself that sometimes. Shooting the video is one aspect of showcasing your style and differentiating yourself from everyone else, but editing is where everything comes together and you can really showcase your style because there's so much more creative flexibility in editing. There's no rules to it, so you can do whatever you want for the most part, because some things like motion graphics, they take time to learn. Think about it like this: anyone can get the same shots as you, but not a single other person will see that shot in the same way that you do. And that's where the editing comes into play. How you're gonna maybe crop it, use different aspect ratio, whether that's 4:3 or I don't even know what the one's called when you bring the lines the opposite way. Different fonts, different colors, different movements, sound effects, music. There's so many things that come into play when editing. To get better at editing, the biggest thing for me is just playing around with the different tools that the editing platforms have. Whether you use Premiere Pro, I use Final Cut. Looking at all the transitions, the titles, I personally don't use a lot of the ones that they have, the default ones, but you can also get plugins and stuff like that. There's still so much flexibility. I can download different fonts, I can change the size of them, italicize them, bring them wider, taller. Don't be afraid to reinvent your style. I think a lot of people are afraid to change up what they've made in the past just because, oh, people are used to seeing me post this type of video. They're only gonna like that. But there's so many different things you can do. If you do want to have a recognizable style, you will need some consistency within your work. Whether that could be the font you use, that could be some effects that you use, certain transitions, aspect ratios. It's different for everyone. Just don't be afraid to experiment when you're editing. I'm gonna give you guys a quick insight into my workflow while I edit. I'm not gonna show you exactly what I do, and show you guys just like some steps that I take. This part's gonna be more so for the beginners, but who knows, maybe some more advanced editors will want to take some notes on this. The first thing I always do, I think for the majority of people, the steps in editing are pretty similar. The only thing that I would say differs is when people choose their music and sound design. The majority of the time, I choose my music after cutting everything. I start off by cutting my clips, then organizing these clips within the sequence, and then get into the music and sound design. After choosing the music, the sound design, sound effects, go into color grading, which is probably my weakest point within my videos. It's not very good. I'm still learning a lot. It's not easy. I'd recommend watching a different video on that. And then after I color grade, I add special effects, transitions, fonts, anything else that can elevate the video even further. I think a lot of people's workflow when it comes to editing is very different. The first thing I like to do is just import everything into one timeline. I usually just scan over everything, whether that's 4 hours, 10 minutes. There's so many different timelines I've worked with. I like to scan over the timeline and then decide which clips I want to keep versus throwing the other ones away. Like I said earlier, you don't have to use everything, but it's better to have a lot than realizing you missed out on recording something. Then once I choose the clips I want, cut them to a length which I believe suits the video style that I'm trying to accomplish. This can be super quick cuts, normal length, or elongated shots. Then once I've cut those clips, I typically rearrange them, organize them within my timeline. Training videos don't typically tell a traditional story like those of movies, but they still tell a story. Every video you see on the internet, whether it's good or bad, short or long, everything tells a story. You have a certain connection with it when you watch it, whether it's a good one or a bad one. There's always something being told. And once I've organized the clips in the timeline, I go into I typically choose the music first and then the sound effects. Depends on the video. Sound effects are very underrated and should be utilized way more. I need to use them more. I personally choose the music first and then go into sound effects, because to me the music already has certain sound effects in it which I want to cut the video to a lot of the time. And utilizing music is so important and will add so many different dimensions to your video. I think music is the closest thing we have to time traveling. I don't just say that randomly, I say that because this is why it's so important to choose your music specifically for the video. You need to think in the future, when you're looking back at this video, people will have certain memories over the video, whether that's just yourself or thousands of people watching. You'll look back at it and you'll have certain memories based on that video. And I think the music is a key reason why you have certain memories toward that video. The instrumental you use, the BPMs, the tones, the genres, just take it into consideration. Be mindful. Before choosing the music, you can ask yourself certain questions like, what mood do I want to create for the viewer? Do I want them to be inspired? Do I want them to be entertained? Like I said, music is one thing and it does so much, but sound effects can also add so much on top of the music that people don't realize. Whooshes, risers, impacts, whether these are subtle or super loud, very emphasized. And there are so many sounds you can get creative with. So just have fun with it. Like I said, just play around with different sounds, different color grading, different fonts. There are so many different fonts. Sharp, smooth. I like to do these things at the end of the video, add the fonts, the special effects, transitions, because the videos for the most part the story's already told. These are accessories to the video, but they're very important. The fonts are very important. Don't just mindlessly pick a font or copy someone else's font you like on the video. You can do that if you like the style that they did and your video is a similar style, you can do that. But look at the vibe you're trying to create and think about them side by side. The nice thing about fonts and title screens is not only can you download so many of them online, but you can also just make your own on a tablet or on paper and scan it onto your computer in Photoshop. Just please try new things. That's everything. I want to see what you guys create, so tag me in your videos. Don't expect to master this in a day, and just get reps in. That's the most important thing.